Networking is the least expensive way to build your business, because all it involves is talking. And if you know the right words to say and the right places to be, it will actually work. You should concentrate on networking with the people that you would like to do business with. Talk to people. It still works these days. Texting is good, but talking to people works too. Wherever it is you see people during the day, if you do it that way, you can take a lot of pressure off yourself. And the way that you introduce yourself is almost never by your title. I'm the president of, I'm the official of. If you say your name and your title, no one cares. Sorry to tell you that. So if I was an accountant, I might say, hi, I'm Rocky Romeo, and I keep the IRS out of your pockets forever. When you feel that the other person is asking key questions about your product or service, that's an indication that you need to stop the conversation. And what are key questions? Well, it depends on what your world is. How much does it cost? Do you have any guarantee or warranty? Do you do it on Saturdays? Do we have to come to you or you come to us? How long does it take to create a product? Do you customize it? You could say something like this. Gee, Mary, you're asking a lot of good questions. I appreciate that. You know, would it make any sense for us to talk about it later? I don't know, you tell me. To when you give out your business cards? Only when you're asked for one. Product knowledge isn't sales knowledge. If you just have product knowledge, you're a walking brochure. You're a walking YouTube video.
Of the group out here, how many of you are consulting or working in freelance? The real advantage, in my opinion, is that you've got a lot of autonomy, the flexibility, basically the ability to create your own approach, to define your clients, to work in the flexible hours and schedule that you like. To me, that's probably one of the greatest advantages. I think the disadvantages, particularly as a consultant, is that you're not really a member of a team. And for some people who like a sense of belonging, that can be a very frustrating role to be in when you're a consultant, because you're always a bit of an outsider. And if you don't enjoy constantly selling yourself, that can be very frustrating. I think for me, the best benefit of agency work is that sense of creativity. You're working in the realm of big ideas and creative notions. You can be a hero. And if you like to be a problem solver, it's a great role. But I think then on the flip side for the agency world is the fact that, you are really serving many masters. So it is difficult to balance all those clients, understand all their business needs, and keep everybody happy at the same time. The best benefit of nonprofits is the fact that you're really focused on a mission. And I think making a difference in the lives of others and knowing every day when you come into work that that's your focus can be very satisfying. Often you're asked to do more than just your job or just your role. So you have an opportunity to expand your scope, to reach beyond your area of expertise and learn and grow professionally. On the flip side, the compensation in nonprofits isn't as great. So that can be a challenge if you're really looking for a job that's going to pay well. The biggest challenge in nonprofits can be that they're very risk adverse. So if you're someone who really likes to innovate or think outside the box, sometimes you'll find in a nonprofit setting they're not willing to try something new unless somebody else in the field has proven it or shown it to be successful. I think in the for-profit world, in corporations especially, you have to stay in your lane a bit more. Jobs are more defined. Departments are more defined. The roles are more defined. So unlike a nonprofit where you can sort of spread your scope and responsibility, you need to stay there, and you may not have those opportunities.
We can't imagine a world without being connected. If you have a great idea, you can easily get that idea funded, launched, and communicated via social media. And that's why your personal brand is so incredibly important, that you establish your personal brand and that you own the narrative around that brand so that you know what's being said about you and you're not letting it happen to you. If you're not social, at this point in time, you're not relevant. Having an individual, you, in a corporation that owns your personal brand, you know what's exceptional about you, and then applying that corporate brand over it. A personal brand is your story. It's what differentiates you from everyone else out there, basically doing the same thing as you and saying the same thing as you. The further down the technology continuum we get, I swear the further we go backwards. We're now all going around and sitting around the campfire and telling stories again. And what makes you different is more than likely your personality characteristics and your life experiences. And the easiest way to figure this out is to take a piece of paper, draw a line down the middle, put the same on one side and different on the other. They did a heat map study of LinkedIn profiles, and 19% of the time that someone was on a profile was spent looking at the picture. So make sure you have a great professionally taken picture, and you want it to be business casual. There's a lot of debate over this, but social media is casual, so you want to reflect that. Make sure that it is professional. You're not taking a group shot and cropping people out. You don't have a drink in your hand, even if you do love wine. You shouldn't have that drink in your hand. But if you do love to play golf and you do a lot of networking on the golf course, and golf is one of your great passions, then have your picture taken on the golf course in your golf shirt. You have 120 characters in your headline. You can make this keyword heavy, a keyword heavy headline, or you can make it a power statement headline. LinkedIn, when you set up an account, assigns you your own personal LinkedIn address, and they add numbers and characters to the end of it. It looks awful. You can change that. So, for example, it goes LinkedIn/in/ and then your name and then all those characters. You can go in and edit that, so mine is /Laura Verrilli. Another key important element of your LinkedIn profile is your summary, and that's where you're putting your story. That's your hook. That's where you have 2,000 characters to tell your story and differentiate yourself. You can sprinkle in keywords in there for search engine optimization, but that's where you really want to tell your story, because when recruiters are looking for you, hiring managers, clients, prospects, whoever is looking for you, they're going to read that summary.
I do a lot of work helping people for free writing resumes, resume optimization, I call it. And I tell them in that summary part of your resume, that should be the first thing, because your resume gets 6 seconds of attention. With respect to networking, I'm often called Mr. Rolodex at my office because I've been around the block more times than anybody. I'm 117 years old. So I've done government, corporate, nonprofits. I've been on boards. I've created nonprofits and all of that. So I have about 6,000 names in my contact list. Are they all active? Do I know who they are? Do I remember where they are, who they are, why they're important to me, why they're still there? No. But a large number of them are important. I'm in touch with a lot of them. I know how to find them if I want to find them. Let me just mention also, when you work in a closed society like Haiti, a dictatorship at the time I was there, or Mali, which was a military dictatorship, you go to cocktails to find out what's going on. Because other people probably know something that is going on that you don't know, and you know something that's going on that they don't know. So networking is an extremely important function in such an environment. When I go to an event to meet other people, to promote myself, or get business, or explain what ETS is, that's a big job. Do I go with a plan, a goal? Do I know what I want to accomplish and why? Whom do I want to meet? That's who. No, I mean, that's not who, it's whom do I want to meet? Little English lesson. And why? The head of the organization, the MC, members of the board, leaders. Have I done my homework on the organization or person? Do I know anything about either that can help them, that can help me in a conversation? When I'm asked, what do I have my elevator speech ready? And I think the point about not saying what your job title is, but actually what you do, is very appropriate. And is my response meaningful, memorable? I've heard so much about you and would like to discuss X with you. I will follow up. Am I ready to ask a friend, a colleague, or acquaintance to introduce me to a target? I enter key contacts into my database, indicating where and when we met. I follow up within days, if possible, unless I'm distracted by something. I look for opportunities to renew the relationship, either by sending an article of interest or meeting at another event or organization, inviting the person to a coffee, lunch, cocktail, dinner, depending on the importance and my objective. Ask 100 people what the best format is for a resume and you get 120 answers. Right?
What's worked for each of you when following up and building relationship capital and fostering trust with new friends?
Following up within 24 hours, because we live in an always-on world, is really key and instrumental. I go about it two ways. One, I send a LinkedIn request, invite, and I personalize it. So a lot of people don't personalize that introduction, that invitation request. You might think you're the most memorable person in this room, but you're not. If you really want to stand out, if you really want to differentiate yourself, send a handwritten note.
Adam Bierman. I'm on this part of kind of a glorified hobby, but I also work at Princeton TV. I have a show and I do interviews in the street. What do you say to people who have they're afraid of social media, they don't want to use it? How do you approach them?
If they need to use social media and they're very, very afraid of it, there's a reason. And the idea is to find out what that reason is. And usually it's a lack of information that causes the fear. And so you can address it by finding out what it is that's causing that fear. It's usually a lack of information.
Hi, I'm Beth Brody, and I have a question for both Julia and Frank. You both have worked in so many different industries and done so many different things. I want to know, what was your favorite place where you worked and why?
Hands down, the Walt Disney World was the best experience I ever had. And I think really, you know, it was an environment of great creativity, great resources, and to work for one of the most respected brands in the world was more than an honor. It was a fabulous experience.
How much time do you have? I like Costa Rica in terms of living, wonderful. And culturally, I think Mali was the most interesting. Such a diverse, so many diverse peoples there. Timbuktu is there. It was just fascinating, but very difficult living conditions.
I have a multi-part question about social media. With so many different platforms and options out there, which one do you recommend, and is it necessary to do them all? Because there are so many.
There's no way you can do them all. You'd be online all day long, which is an incredible waste of your time. You, as a professional, absolutely LinkedIn. Facebook is phenomenal. You can have a Facebook company page and a personal page, obviously. The reach of Facebook is incredible. There's over 1.6 billion users on there. And if you wanted to be very targeted in terms of your marketing, you can get down to, I want to only market to 18 to 24-year-old females in the Princeton, New Jersey area.
I think it's important to really understand, what do you want to accomplish in your social media strategy? You know, you're trying to build business, and make sure you're actually using the medium that's going to reach that end audience. Because you can spread yourself so thin and it can take up so much of your time. You want to make sure that you're actually focusing and targeting on who you want to reach and how you want to reach them.
I'm Harvey Barry, VisionWorks Unlimited, branding, advertising, and graphic design. Speaking about LinkedIn and Facebook, they do seem to be the most popular. I personally am having a hard time convincing some of the younger people not to post their night out with the boys on Facebook, because they just see it as, well, that's my personal life and it's got nothing to do with my business life.
I have a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old, and I said, do not post anything. Basically, you don't know who's going to see that and feel that it's inappropriate. You could have a dream job, you could have set these goals your whole life, and then one picture could make that evaporate in 2.2 seconds. So you have to be mindful. Basically, how would they feel if that picture was on a billboard somewhere or on the front page of the local paper?
Hi, I'm Dennis Noble. I head up digital cinema at Princeton Partners, and a great presentation. Could you, each of you could probably talk about the balance between the impression you make, professional, personal, and that area of passion where you might like hockey or this or that, and how much of that, when's the right time to introduce it, when to pull back, or just gauging, the ability to gauge somebody as you meet them?
What I find out that works for me, if I see someone and there's an opportunity
that I won't see them again. I certainly want to keep it fairly formal and very businesslike. And making a good first impression, like they say, you never get a second chance to make a good first impression. And if you dress the right way, it also shows a lot of confidence in yourself. And that translates to showing confidence in your business. So on that aspect, that's what I would do. Then, if you happen to run into the person again, or maybe 2 or 3 times, being formal is now a detriment, especially if you want to develop a relationship. Now it's time to let your hair down just a little bit and talk about some local things. And then I found out that after a while, when you talk about the local things and things that are common interests, and did you see this and did you do that, all of a sudden you have a friend, a real friend.
If you take a step back and look at it, there's 3 personality types. There's the driver, the social, and the analytic. You could probably figure out that I'm a social person. Social likes to talk about interests and passions. So you have to be able to read somebody quickly, see where they're at.
I also find I enjoy learning about people. I guess it comes from having been a writer in my beginning days and always wanting to interview and learn more. So I find it far more interesting to learn about their passions and their interests, and then through that I can make those connections. So I find myself more trying to hear their story, trying to probe and ask the questions that get them to talk about themselves. And then through that I can find those natural connections that make sense and really kind of flow with what they're passionate about.
Hi, my name is Valerie Embry. I've been at Merrill Lynch in Global Wealth Investment Management for 10 years. My question is, I graduated from college in 2013. I worked my entire academic career, and I love what I do. I love my accomplishments, but I haven't really ventured into my creative aspect too much because I'm a little bit intimidated about, I guess, seasoned professionals who have taken those entrepreneurial leaps. I feel intimidated that maybe my contribution to what I feel passionate about may be overlooked for someone who's been in the industry longer. So what did you all do to kind of develop yourselves and overcome your fears and just follow your passion?
Well, I can touch on that. I have always, at least early on in my career, I did a lot of freelance work. I did a lot of freelance writing, and that really helped me to develop the writing skills and to become the writer and the person that could do those big writing projects. But I could also then work full time, so it was a very low risk entry into the writing world. I think also through volunteer projects, by being a volunteer in certain kinds of activities. I had a big passion for being involved in managing large nonprofit events.
If you look up on YouTube, believe it or not, Steve Harvey has about a 5-minute video about taking the leap, taking the next step with confidence to get you where you want to get to. Another thing, and great mentor is Bob Proctor, who simply just said this: there's only 2 steps to take. You can go forward into growth, or you could step back into safety. And then you could decide there.
Can I use that tomorrow?
Sure.
Thanks.
And last but not least, when you're passionate about what you want to do and yet you're in a full-time position, my formula for that is simply this. If you, 3 months in a row, if you're out grossing the full-time job that you have now, and here is consistency. 3 months in a row, wait 1 more month. And if you make it 4 months in a row, that's a good indication you can make the move.